This is Andrew at Drake Custom Bass, and today in the shop I'm having a little bit of a moment here. This is a Drake Custom headless custom design that I did for a customer a few years back. It is a short scale 30 and change, I believe. Originally had two necks, and the other neck did arrive with it, which is a fretless. It's a sealed coated fretless. And then this is, of course, the fretted neck. It is held on by machine screws and brass inserts, and the truss rod wrench is the wrench that actually removed the neck. This was made so that the neck could come off, the body would go into a separate pouch on a small case, and the neck would slide into another pouch, and this could be checked as checked luggage or whatever, or actually put in an overhead bin on an airplane. Not checked. Anyway, the original owner did sell it, and the current owner is taking advantage of my recertification policy, where if you purchase a second-hand Drake Custom Bass and send it to me and you cover the cost of the shipping to and from, I will look it over, and if everything checks out great, I will recertify the warranty. I also do some, minor repairs, upgrades, things like that, because I like to keep the quality of my instruments high and the value. And this bass was a really nice bass when it went out, but when I got it in, the first thing I noticed when I took it out of the case is it has a really high action, and I thought, wait, that neck doesn't look right. Well, let's flip it over and see what might be wrong here. And what we found, let's see if I can get out of the shadow here, is that the carrier decided to drop kick this down the stairs, or something similar, some sort of action. Yeah, that's really crushed in there. So now there's a repair bill that's going to be on top of this. The high action, what's responsible for that is it hit so hard that the brass inserts actually got pulled out of the neck. And sorry, there's a little bit of a glare, but yeah. So the string's got to come off. This thing's got to come apart today. These things do happen, and everything can be fixed. It's really annoying, but it's part of life. I'm not going to mention which carrier this was, because I've had every stripe of carrier severely damage an instrument and then refuse to do anything about it to fix it or cover the damage. So I don't know. Just be wary that when you ship an instrument, you have to pack it as if it's going to be dropped out of an airplane without a parachute. If there's insurance available, why not purchase it? But honestly, it hasn't really panned out well for me. I don't think FedEx, UPS, several others have really a true insurance that you can purchase. I was told by FedEx that basically it would be my business insurance that would have to cover this type of thing. And my business insurance, of course, told me that no, once it's not in my hands anymore, it's not in my shop, then they're not responsible for anything. The customer who sent this, they might be able to put it on their homeowner's insurance, something like that. But basically, I don't know, is it worth it purchasing insurance from the carrier they're shipping with? I'm not sure. I know that it's only paid off once, and that was because a truck burned up. And other than that, I've never been able to really receive any kind of compensation for what I consider gross negligence. I mean, when it has several inches of foam padding and it's hit so hard at the box that started out as a brand new rigid box and it arrives looking like a brown paper bag, that's just negligence. That's piling a metric ton of cargo on top of it, in transit. This has had to be dropped maybe out of the back of a truck onto the ground or whatever, because it was a longer box. It had to be slammed hard enough that that type of damage occurred. I mean, the end pin is, and this was solid wood. Granted, it is a lighter wood, but it's wedged in there a good 1/2 inch deep. So, and the neck is pulled out. So that's quite a bit of force. Anyway, I'm going to repair it. All right. Just a little bit of damage to that. That's easily fixed. These were glued in. They're screwed in and glued in, but the force has managed to, I can see some of the wood broken around it. So I'm going to basically reseat these in place. See if I can get you back in the movie here. I'll reseat these, make sure they're all glued back in before reassembly. Yeah, I'll have to get I have a puller that actually will screw in there, and I can actually pull those out. So, thing is, I think the only piece that's missing is this little tiny, and I looked through all the packing material, all the cases, everything, and I can't find it. I was hoping to maybe find it inside here somewhere, and so far I don't see it. I think maybe the first step is to actually get all the electronics out of the way so I can kind of get in around there. The only thing holding that button in might just be the screw. Well, technically that's what was holding it in, but the only thing that holds that piece of wood on there might be the screw. Oh, something else just broke or moved. Okay. Yeah, I didn't want that to happen, but it's going to have to. Can't really glue it back together unless I can get all the pieces where I can get glue on them. The good news is nobody's oiled or put any kind of wax or anything on here, so it'll go back together sort of like a puzzle. After I pop everybody back into place, yeah, that piece is going to have to be pushed in. I'm going to have to remove all the electronics first. Oh, yeah, I don't know if there's any way to force that back out. I might have to actually go this way. And what's really holding it in is a piece of copper foil tape. Probably to make a connection with the okay. The trick was to actually pry the wall out a little bit and push that in. I'm not going to try to smear a bunch of glue around that. What I'm going to do is wick in some thin viscosity super glue that will penetrate deep and all around in there. I really think that I'll be able to, once I wick the thin viscosity super glue into all these cracks and seal it up, I'll be able to use some glue boost or something to actually fill the crack damage, and I won't have to refinish this whole instrument. Figure out which is the next piece to go in. And I'm thinking that looks like a winner. And since everything came pushing from this direction, there. Get Humpty Dumpty back together here. Okay. In some cases where I find little parts that are blown out, I just remove them. It's not quite flush, and that's probably because there's some fibers that are just out of place. But I couldn't see anything super obvious, so that might have to be sanded down later, and I'll touch up the finish as best I can. Now from the inside, I will definitely be putting a lot more glue. This is just to seal those outside cracks. Make them just disappear if I can. You can see the capillary action that wicks the glue down. I gotta be careful because I don't want a bunch of glue dripping down into the electronics, even though we are pulling them out. Probably going to be best not to glue them in place. I'm going to be sanding this so it will get polished. I'm not worried about a little glue on the outside. Okay, we've enjoyed some degree of success so far. The inside is actually nice and flush. This shows a lot worse than it really is. You could barely feel it. I will be filling this and taking care of these lines. This is on the bottom side, back, so it will always show a little bit. The strap button is going to cover up most of that, and I will make this not quite disappear, but it'll be very close. It's going to require some sanding, so this is going to get worse before it gets better. This isn't super deep, so I'm actually thinking because the color of the wood matches so well, I might just build up a few coats of glue boost fill and finish in here rather than trying to patch it and everything, and I think it will virtually disappear. This needs to be sanded down and smoothed off. I did apply already thin viscosity super glue from the back side, and it wicked down deep in here, and I did see any little spots that started to weep out down here. I had sprayed some accelerator on the outside, and that seemed to flash off nicely. So this is solid. It's not going anywhere. Even when we replace the strap button and everything, that should actually go back in there and be fine. Some cosmetic things to worry about there, and we'll sort that out shortly. I am going to have to take everything apart, bridge and everything off, because it's going to be kind of an in-depth process, and I need to use the buffer to actually shine this back up. So this wood's a roasted swamp ash, and luckily it had no stain or anything on it, and it was on there thick enough that only this area where the wood was raised up and I had to bring it down to level is showing lighter color. But once I add the glue boost to it, I think that's gonna, it will darken up and match. A little spot of denatured alcohol here. Spot of denatured, and then a little glue boost thin. Hit it with the accelerator. It still has several coats to go yet, but you can see it's starting to blend and match. I gotta work on the other side. Just keep going from one side to the other, because yes, I use accelerator, but this still has to sit long enough that you can sand it without, you know, gumming up your paper. A little bit of light sanding. This is 600 grit paper. So far, we haven't really gone through the finish, but in just a couple spots where they were high. So, and where these, I don't know if you can see them in the video, but these were bubbles, or still little deep spots, and they're collecting the sanding dust. So I'm going to get the air hose, we'll blow those out, and then I'm going to put another coat of glue boost on. Some more denatured alcohol. Part of this is to clean where I've touched it with my oily fingers, or the oil from my fingers can sometimes cause contamination of the surface. The other thing is the accelerator that I've sprayed on there from previous coats. I don't want that to, I want to be able to work the glue boost around a little bit. Glue boost. Okay, and yet another hit of the glue boost. This may take several coats. I won't bore you with coat after coat here, so I'm building this up a little bit more, and then we're going to move on to installing the preamp and getting this back together. So we're just getting a little glue down and around these inserts, and I've let it seep in there some thin viscosity super glue, and that will lock these in place. I'm going to make a modification though. Sometimes in this design the string tension pulls the neck back so far, and then these holes, the screws, mounting screws, kind of sink into the wood here because it's a softer wood, and the neck wants to creep back ever so slightly. So I'm going to create a stop, and what that is basically a 1/2-inch dowel that will be embedded here and with the top rounded, and there'll be a corresponding hole for that, where when the neck's installed, the dowel that's mounted in here will actually rise up into this point and kind of act as a stop. I'm going to do that now. Doing a little shaping of the stop so that when the neck is inserted into the neck pocket, it actually drops in nice and smoothly. It doesn't hang up. Alright, let me show you what I'm doing here. I'm going to put some CA glue down in the bottom. That gets pressed down. Put a little thin around it to wick in. I'm going to harden that dowel by soaking thin super glue in. Okay, now that we got this piece in, I used some thin viscosity super glue, which hardened the wood it soaked in, hit it with accelerator. Then I took a little bit of paste wax and smeared it around that. That corresponds with this part, and I've already tried this, so I know it actually fits. And so it seats nice in there. When the bolts are on, it pulls everything down nice and tight. This keeps it from sliding. I'm pushing actually this way right now, and it keeps it from sliding back in or moving around. There is a fretless neck matching this that actually goes into this particular base. It had 2 interchangeable necks, so I'll have to make that modification on the other one as well. And what I did is I just found the center, measured in 1 inch, And that's where I planted my tomato. All right, moving on. I did sort out what was wrong with the rattling on this 0 fret. The current owner, had complained that there was a few strings that were rattling. And what the situation was, originally when I built this bass for the original owner, we strung it E through F. And now the current owner has it B through C. So these strings are a lot wider gauge. And I had to open up the nut slots so that the strings will actually rest on top of the 0 fret. And so now there's no rattle or anything. I did go around and polish up the frets. I hit it on the wheel, and after taking a few sharp burrs off here and there, like I do when I do a warranty recertification. And we got the new saddles in. We got rid of the piezo saddle pickups and put the, I guess these would be like the standard option that would come with this Hipshot bridge. And these allow some side-to-side adjustment, so I might have to fine-tune a few of these to get them back so the strings have a relatively even spacing. Oiled the fingerboard with a wax that we use. It's made out of beeswax and mineral oil. And I'm very, very thrilled with the damage repair. I don't know if I can get a good angle on this down here, and I might have to pick up the base here a little bit. Stand by. Alright, so we did get all the cracks mended, the piece put back in, and I'm pretty thrilled how that turned out. I did not have to refinish the instrument. A little glue boost goes a long way. We did, let me flip this over. We got that sorted out. I did have to hit that on the buffer a little bit. There's still some finger smudges. The only thing that really is a bad telltale is that we were missing a piece of wood, a piece chipped out, so I made do with the best I can. But it's all solid, it's smooth, there's no, you can't feel the seam or anything. I did apply a fresh coat of hard wax oil to the neck. This base predates the hard wax oil that I've been using in my shop, but the necks are much nicer, smoother to the touch. I think the customer is really going to like that. And get it flipped back over here. Yeah, I think we'd call this one a success. If you've enjoyed this video, if you would like to hit the subscribe button and the like buttons, we would really appreciate that. That does help us out with our channel. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.